Hi again. It's been about 5.5 hours. It's still wet. There is some spots that could be stretched out. So I'm going to show you what to kind of look for and just some simple techniques on how to pull this to make it a nice white leather. So we'll get started. I pulled the Coyote off the stretcher and there are some spots that I could be pulling right now. So what you're looking for is you can just by touch. If it feels like kind of like a wet sponge, it's not quite ready. But on this pelt, for example, it's pretty wet here, but I notice in the middle it's starting to dry. So what I'll do is very carefully just take it like this, just sitting on the pail or whatever, and just pull gently. Just be careful. If you do rip it, a thing that works really nice is dental floss and a needle, and it works really good. But just be careful, don't pull too hard because these hides are thin. So here's some more dry spots right here. So I just take it and just give it a light pull. Here's a spot right here. See how it turns white? These are still pretty wet. But you'll actually see it change color. And that's kind of the idea you want to do throughout the whole thing. There's part of his face right here. Just take your time with it. This is the part that you want to do a good job at. The more time you put into this, the better the product will be. So if you come back and let's say that this thing was completely dried out and as hard as cardboard, don't panic. Remember when I said don't dump the Varmint 48 out of that pail yet? This is the reason. If you do forget about it and it gets really hard, too hard to work with, to stretch like that, simply just put it back into the pail, work it into the solution until it's pliable again, and restart this step. Hang it to dry and catch it before it completely dries. So yeah, so nothing to worry about. Okay, next step, I'll keep doing this, you know, throughout the next few hours as it's drying, and I'll show you kind of how I finish them. So I worked the pelt a few times, stretching it like as you've seen, and I feel pretty good about it. Most of it's fairly soft and dried out, What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it hang for overnight, and then in the morning I'm going to give it a couple pulls and show you some different techniques on stretching. So it's the next day, and I'm going to take this pelt. I'm going to show you a couple things on what we can do. If you take your C4 Varmint 48 pill, you can probably just see the top of it here. If you were to lift the handle up and move this plastic over to the side, like that, you can put your pelt in here, just like this, and work it back and forth like this, very gently. It just will help soften it up. So I'm going all the way from the ears down to the tail. I'll turn it around. Now the belly's a little trickier because you got the legs there. So just go over them slow. Now you can use anything here. You can use a chair, a table, anything with an edge. I found that this pill handle really works well though. So do that for as long as you wish. What I'll also do is I'll take a fine grade sandpaper and I'll go over the entire pelt very lightly throughout the whole thing, and what it'll do is it'll knock these little burrs off, giving it a more consistent look. And then once you're happy with that, we will turn this thing fur side out and start brushing the hair. Now it's time for the final touches, and we're simply going to give this a really good brush. I've used lots of brushes in the past, and I find that the best one out there, it's called the Furminator, and it looks like this. You can pick it up at PetSmart, Wholesale Sports, Cabela's, stores like that. They're a little expensive, but they're well worth their money. They do a really good job in getting all the loose hairs out. So I simply start up at the ears, and I'll work myself down to the tail, and I'll give it a really good brush. I'll brush it until very little hair comes off this thing. And then once I accomplish that, I'll flip it over and simply repeat the step. Start up at the mouth and I'll brush it all the way down to its tail. And again, I'll do this until I get very little hair coming off. Once you're finished that, you're pretty much done. If you feel that the fur is still on the oily side, there is some things you can do. One of the best methods that I find that works is I'll actually warm up a big bowl of cornmeal and I'll throw it in a tub with my fur, and I'll give it a really good shake. The cornmeal will actually pull that the leftover oils in the fur, and it'll kind of pull it out, giving it a drier, fluffier appearance. This one's actually really good, so I'm not going to bother with that step, but if you do feel it on the oily side, just toss it in some cornmeal and give it a good shake. Well, congratulations guys, you did it. And thank you so much for buying C4-Outdoors Varmint 48 Home Tanning Kit. I hope it worked out for you. I would love to hear your feedback. Visit our website at C4-Outdoors.com and feel free to send us your pictures of your final product, or any kind of feedback would be appreciated. Thank you again, and please visit C4Outdoors.com.